Today we are with Cindy Bynon, the Service Manager at GDAS. Today we'll be interviewing her about her work in the substance misuse field and how it all began. So, I would like to start out this interview today with, how long have you worked in the substance misuse field?
I've worked in the substance misuse field for approximately 35 years.
That's a very long time to be working in the substance misuse field. Would you mind telling me your career journey in the substance misuse field, where your journey began and where you are now?
Yes, initially I worked on acute mental health assessment ward. Lots of people were admitted with substance use problems that had triggered mental health problems, and this is where my interest in substance use came from. So from there I had a bit of a career change and went into the NHS for a prescribing service in Rhondda, and Taff that was providing treatment for people with substance use issues. That program would be kind of predominantly around substitute medication prescribing for opiate clients, so methadone, Subutex, Suboxone. There would be occasions where there would be alcohol home detoxes that was provided in and around that area. I then left the NHS to work for voluntary organisations. So my first one was in Merthyr Drug Aid as a treatment practitioner. I stayed with Drug Aid for many years and worked in various roles and various areas. So Merthyr Tydfil, Caerphilly, Blaenau Gwent with young people services. That was slightly different to adult services. There was a lot of training, education, harm reduction information that was kind of the key intervention for young people going into schools, colleges, providing training, etc. Then I had another complete change and went into the criminal justice system and worked for them. So this was based in kind of courts, custodies, and treatment clinics and bases. Again, substitute prescribing was part of the treatment pathway, along with PSI, psychosocial interventions. For example, if somebody was offending to pay for their substance use issues and they were arrested, there was a legal mandatory drug test, and if somebody tested positive, they would have to have a mandatory required assessment. There were kind of voluntary support available. There were things like restrictions on bail, the drug rehabilitation program where you would have to engage in treatment or have a custodial sentence. So that was like very interesting. And during my time there, I started as a senior practitioner and then progressed to a team leader. From there, I went to Somerset Drug and Alcohol Service, as a service manager. Again, this was a consortium. It was between Turning Point, DHI and CGL. The consortium kind of pulled together and provided different arms and strengths within the service to ensure that complex clients had the best possible holistic approach. There was prescribing, counselling, psychosocial interventions, housing, detoxes, etc. I was there for a number of years and then came back to Gwent Drug and Alcohol Service, GDAS, and that's a very similar setup to ESDAS. So it's a consortium of people, organisations. Kaleidoscope G4S is the criminal justice arm of the service, and Drug Aid. Again, to have three different kind of organisations with different expertise inputted into kind of one individual's treatment pathway provides hopefully better and more positive outcomes. So GDAS provides alternative prescribing, methadone, Buvidal, Suboxone, alcohol detoxes, counselling, psychosocial interventions, family support, various groups specific to various groups within the treatment system. We have a very successful peer mentor program, so that's where somebody's come through treatment successfully. They attend the peer academy, they spend a number of months training, they graduate, and at the end of that they can decide whether they want to look for work within the field or move on. We work very closely with partner agencies such as social services, mental health team, Engage, the young people substance use services, housing. There's multiple agencies that we work very closely with to kind of ensure that clients with complex needs kind of have an holistic approach. We have brief intervention programs, group programs, so anyone coming in with any specific substance use, we would have a treatment pathway and a program that would probably benefit them. We have online learning programs for people that are not fully dependent but think sometimes that their use is becoming a little bit problematic. That's where I am now, really.
This just shows that you've come a long way in your career, and it also shows that you constantly want to help anyone who has a substance misuse problem and you want them to see the light. Can you tell me a bit more about GDAS and the service you provide? I know you mentioned a bit about it, but could you go into more detail for me, please?
So if somebody comes into GDAS, they can self-refer, family friend can refer with their consent, other professionals like GPs, social services, probation services. So there's a multitude of kind of referral sources to kind of get someone into treatment. From there they have an assessment, and at that assessment they kind of determine the needs of an individual and what treatment pathway would be best. So somebody that was heavily dependent on heroin, for example, they would sit with one of our treatment practitioners, they would be given a clinical assessment and go on to have prescribing, so along with sort of OST, opiate substitute therapy, such as methadone, Suboxone, Buvidal. There's a number of different medications that you can take, would be prescribed along with the sort of psychosocial interventions. There's a counselling service available. Somebody that's not heavily dependent, they would sit with one of our brief treatment practitioners, so they would just come in for a number of sessions with brief interventions, and that's looking at kind of ways to provide skills to help people to reduce or stop whatever their goal is. We work very closely with Engage, so if somebody's transitioning from the young person service up to the adult services, we will work very closely to make sure that transition is smooth for that person. We have low intensity programs for somebody that's doing really well. So engagement and appointments aren't as regular, so it allows them to work. We have a very successful peer mentor program, as I said. We have a counselling program. We have sort of community detox is available, inpatient detox is available from alcohol, multiple groups. We have specific and specialist over 50s workers, women's groups, men's groups, art groups, bereavement groups. So it's a very, very comprehensive kind of service and treatment pathway that hopefully meets the needs of everybody that comes through our referral process.
Well, it's good to know that there's always a service for people who need help or need our extra support. Thank you for being interviewed today for the Substance Misuse with Young People documentary, and thank you for giving us a professional insight. I hope you have a great rest of the day of your evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming to be interviewed today, Laura, about substance misuse within young people. I'm going to ask you a few questions about your work in the field so people can get a better understanding what your role at GDAS is. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
My first question for you today is, how long have you worked in the substance misuse field?
I've worked there now for just over 8 years.
That's a very long time. Have you enjoyed your 8 years in the substance misuse field?
Yes, I have. It's been very interesting and informative.
That's very good to know. My next question is, would you mind telling me of your career journey in the substance misuse field, where it began and where you are now?
Okay, yeah. So I started out as a receptionist. Then I moved on and became the administrator for the criminal justice team. I then moved on and became part of the information and advice assistance team, which then led me to becoming the team leader of that team. So we covered the whole of Gwent, and that's where we took all the referrals and gave out harm reduction advice, and I am now the quality and audit lead for GDAS.
That's a very interesting role. Could you tell me a bit more about your role at GDAS?
So the quality and audit lead is where I will do regular audits throughout the year, and so I will audit things like case notes to make sure that all the relevant information is in the case notes, that appointments are being offered, if missed appointments are being chased up and re-offered. I will audit things like risk assessment and care plans, and just to make sure that the quality of, you know, the paperwork and the case notes and the support that the staff are giving service users is, you know, the correct support that they need and the best support that we can offer.
That sounds very interesting. Would you say with the service, have you seen a more positive outcome with the clients that have come through the service of GDAS?
I would say it is 50-50, because, you know, some service users are ready to change, and obviously that's when they get the best results. And then obviously some service users, you know, they're just not at that stage yet where they are, you know, mentally ready to change. And even though we support the service users, obviously we can only give them the support and the tools that they need. You know, a big, you know, chunk of their recovery journey does need to come from them as well. So, you know, obviously we do have good results, but that is where, you know, that individual person, you know, is ready to put in the work and change themselves as well.
That sounds very interesting. So it sounds like it goes both ways, and it's not entirely the service, it has to be the client as well, if I'm getting that right.
Yeah, that's correct. and even though we'll have, service users come for support, and it might just not be their time to go, get to that recovery stage. And if it's not, that's fine, and they can just re-refer back again. There is no limit on how many times somebody can ask us for support. We'll support them every single time that they ask for it.
It sounds like you will, no matter what, you will always have their back to help them, even at the worst stages of their life, that they were like, right, I want to turn my life back around.
Yeah, that's correct. So we'll help them at the very start of their journey, the middle of the journey, the end of the journey, and if they've got to make that journey again, we will be there to support them and help them.
That's very good to know that you will always support them no matter what. My final question before we end this interview today is, do you have any advice for any young person or family or friend that knows someone into substance misuse? Do you have any advice for them going into the service?
So the only advice I can give is, obviously GDAS is a voluntary service, so you can't force anybody to seek support. If you do have a family member, obviously, just try and encourage them to seek support, but obviously don't make it a confrontational conversation. If you yourself, think you need support, then just give either us a call, or you can call Gwent Engage, who supports young people which are from the age, they have an 18 to 21 service, but they also offer support to people under the age of 18. And if you're a family member struggling with a loved one that uses substances, Gwent Engage also have a family support service, and their team supports the families and just give them somebody that they can talk to about what they are going through dealing with the loved one that uses substances.
It's always really good to know that there is support for not only the people who are having the problems with the substance misuse, but also for the family and friends around them.
Yeah.
Thank you for getting an interview today. It's very nice to have a different side to someone's journey in the substance misuse field, and thank you for giving us a very detailed information about your role and more about GDAS and Gwent Engage.
You're very welcome.
Losing someone to substance misuse is never easy, as not many people think of when people take substances and then pass. They don't really think of how it can affect the family, and I never really thought about it myself as a young person until I lost someone, which was my BAMP. He was my whole world growing up when I was younger, always used to look after me, He was a binge drinker for many years, even before I was born. So when I was in year 10, right at the very start, and getting told that he was going into hospital, it's not a good thing to hear. But also, it's not a good thing to hear when they say, your loved one has alcohol poisoning in the liver, but we'll try everything. They're like, oh yeah, we'll be releasing them soon. But then a couple of days after, passes away, because in my scenario with my BAMP, who was my whole world, as I said, he was a binge drinker, so an alcoholic. He looked really bad, lost feeling, went all yellow in the skin, and was just losing his ability slowly, and it's not a great sight to see. And honestly, I say this all the time, no matter who you are, whether I like you or not, I don't wish that upon anyone. The way I saw my BAMP, I don't wish it upon anyone. And obviously seeing the way he was going downhill was not nice. He was really affecting me, obviously, because I love my BAMP, right? Honestly, love him to bits. Definitely when I was younger and he used to look after me. And it was really taking a toll on me because I really did not want to lose him, as I was like, he's got so much to live for. I've got so many more memories to make with him. And obviously I was just starting year 10, so I was getting ready for exams, GCSEs, but also it was where I was year 10, my first proper season of rugby, and he was like, oh, I can't wait to come and see you play rugby, as he was a massive rugby fan and he loved anything to do with rugby, and he was over the moon knowing one of his grandchildren were going to play rugby. And he was like, oh, I'm going to come and watch you. I'm going to be your biggest supporter. And then he always supported me in whatever I did. But now I just feel sad, because even though it was 2 years ago, so when I played in the Principality for rugby, I was like, all my mind kept going to was, I wish my BAMP was here. My BAMP would have loved seeing me in the Principality. He was always, oh, I wish he was here, I wish this, I wish that. And it's like the amount of things he's missed now since being gone. Sorry, I'm trying so hard not to cry. It's obviously, it's been 2 years since he passed. You're gonna miss my prom, miss my 16th, miss me finishing comp, miss me coming to college, gonna miss my 18th now. And there's so much I wish I didn't have to miss, but we're here. But I think what took a toll on me most, that when my BAMP passed, was seeing how badly it affected my dad. My dad's usually such a happy, bubbly person, but when my BAMP passed, my dad was just a completely different person. So then we're all like really sad, down, and it really takes a toll on you mentally and physically when you see a loved one like that going really down, and it's like nothing you can do. So obviously seeing his liver starting to give up after all the years of him drinking and then now having poison in his liver was really hard, because it's like all I wanted to do was help him and just help him recover, you know. And yeah, and it was like you want to do everything you can to just help him, but then it was like nothing I could do, and there's like this guilt since he's passed. Like I wish I saw him more as when I was a teenager, but I hardly did. And it's like to this day I'm constantly wishing, oh, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that, but I can't go back now to do it. And there's not a day that goes by, sorry, it's a little bit of a touchy topic, but yeah, there's not a day that goes by where I don't miss him and wish he was here. So because some of his Elvis stuff here, because he was a big Elvis fan, so I can't even go through that. I got his Welsh jersey, but it's like I can't go through it. I can't listen to Elvis or anything like that, because he enjoyed it without thinking of him and getting upset. It's like it's never easy. And it's like, obviously I've lost people before, but like I've lost my grandpa, I can think of it without crying, but my mum obviously was my everything, and it's still hard to know that even with substance misuse he's gone. And I wish I get easier to get over it, but it's not. Like, obviously I want to think about him without crying, but it's not that easy, and I think that's a part of substance misuse people don't see. It's like they think, oh, it only affects the person using it, but obviously it doesn't. It affects the family and friends around them, and people don't understand that even if the person doesn't get help, when they go, the grief people are gonna have for ages. And I think that's such a key part and factor that people need to think about, because it's like, no matter how hard your life gets, it's quite easy to think, and it can affect anyone whether you're using it or not. And honestly, when you lose someone to it, it just makes it harder, because you think, oh, what would life been if they didn't use it? What would life be if they were still here? You know, and you just think, oh, every big achievement you have, you go, oh, what if they were here and this just never gonna be the same without them? And then you're like, you just go on with your life, and it really affects the people around you, and then you're just gonna be grieving. And yeah, honestly, I would do anything to have my mom. I mean, anything.
you.